my beloved child. Your next step does not need to be announced immediately in order to become real. It needs to remain in silence long enough to take root, gain shape, and mature. There is a gentle part of you that once knew how to trust before learning to doubt every feeling. A part that knew how to rejoice over something small without needing anyone to confirm that such joy was reasonable. That part has not disappeared. It simply withdrew deeper within. After too many times when you carried your hope before cold eyes and returned feeling as though something precious had just been diminished. Today, I am calling that clear and tender part of you back, not through a loud sound or a promise designed to excite you, but through enough safety and stillness for you to hear yourself again. Archangel Michael, my faithful messenger, protector and executor of my will, stands as an image of wise guardianship before the doorway of things that are still young. Yet it is I who am speaking to you. Not every feeling needs to be explained, not every plan must be shared immediately, and not every silence means you are missing an opportunity. You have become accustomed to seeking confirmation from outside yourself, because there were seasons when you no longer trusted your own ability to discern. When an idea appeared, you immediately thought of whom you could tell. When hope began to grow, you wanted to hear someone say that you were not being unrealistic. When you sensed that something important was about to change, you wanted a loved one to rejoice with you, as though their reaction would transform what remained uncertain into something secure. I understand that desire. Human beings were created for companionship, sharing, and support. But healthy companionship does not mean that everything within you must be brought out of the hidden place the moment it begins to form. Some things become steady only when you allow them to remain between you and me for a time, so that your motives can become clear, your emotions can settle, and your plans can take on a more practical shape. I want you to imagine yourself standing at the doorway of a room during a very quiet hour. Every sound in the house has faded, everyone else has gone to rest, and for the first time after a long day, you are no longer required to respond to anyone's needs. One hand rests near the light switch, while the other holds a phone, casting a faint glow across your face. On the screen is an unfinished message. You have written several lines, explaining that you feel something changing, that a new plan is gradually becoming clearer, or that you have just recognized a direction that has awakened hope within your heart. Your finger hovers over the send button. You want to share, not because you are boasting, but because the joy within you feels too large to hold alone. You hope the person on the other side will respond with enthusiasm, tell you that they believe in you, that what you sense is beautiful, and that perhaps your time has finally arrived. In that moment, I am not telling you to distrust your joy. I am simply inviting you to ask, are you sharing because of love and connection, or because you cannot believe in this unless someone else repeats it back to you? If that person responds slowly, will you immediately lose your peace? If they react indifferently, will what you just believed suddenly become meaningless? If they ask one difficult question, will you take it as proof that you were wrong? Your answer will help you understand whether what is forming within you is steady enough to come into the light or still needs time. A mature plan does not collapse because of one question, but a young hope can easily be shaken by an ordinary reaction. Therefore, sometimes wisdom is simply saving the draft, putting down the phone, and sleeping through the night. The image of a candle inside a jar may help you understand this. The small flame is not a prophecy or a guarantee that something extraordinary is certain to happen. It represents clarity that has only just begun within you. When the flame is small, even a light breeze can make it tremble. But the issue is not that the outside world possesses some mysterious power to destroy what belongs to you. What happens is often much more practical. When you share too early, you begin paying more attention to other people's reactions than to the calm voice within. You spend time explaining instead of preparing. You receive praise before completing the necessary work, and unintentionally begin to feel that you have progressed farther than you truly have. The lid of the jar does not represent fear or withdrawal. It represents discernment that knows how to protect a process. Until the flame becomes steady enough that it no longer depends upon the surrounding environment. You do not need to keep everything secret. I am not teaching you to live suspiciously, separately, or with the belief that everyone will ruin what is good. There are people who genuinely possess the ability to walk beside you. They know how to listen without exaggerating, ask questions without humiliating you, rejoice with you while still reminding you to prepare carefully. They do not immediately turn your private matters into stories to be repeated. Neither do they use excitement to push you into a decision too quickly. A trustworthy person does not merely say what makes you happy. They help you see more clearly. Therefore, the issue is not that you must never send the message. The issue is knowing to whom you are sending it, why you are sending it, and whether you are steady enough to receive a response that may not resemble what you hoped to hear. There have been times when you spoke too soon and later blamed yourself. You believed that sharing was what caused everything to fall apart. But I do not want you to become superstitious or believe that another person's words can automatically erase your future. If a plan has a sound foundation, it can continue even after it has been discussed. If you recognize that you shared out of excitement, you do not need to panic. Return to the work. Examine what can be done, what needs to be researched, and what remains only a desire. Do not spend days regretting that you pressed send. One small mistake in discretion does not determine the entire outcome. What matters is learning to gather your energy back, stop seeking more reactions, and begin doing something concrete. I know why confirmation has become so attractive to you. You have passed through many seasons of being doubted, and when a new idea appears, you want someone to stand beside you quickly. You were once told that you thought too much, were too sensitive, or were not practical enough. Therefore, whenever you feel something deeply, you do not merely want to share it. You want reassurance that your judgment is still sound. But, my beloved child, mature confidence does not come from always being certain that you are right. It comes from the ability to examine yourself without collapsing. Accept that you may need to adjust and still not lose your sense of worth. You can believe in a direction and continue gathering information. You can feel excited without treating excitement as proof. You can receive feedback without giving the person who offers it authority over your entire future. The silence I am inviting you to keep is not a ritual used to obtain a blessing. Neither is it a test to determine whether you are obedient enough to deserve something good. It is a space that helps you recognize the difference between intuition and longing, between a mature plan and a passing emotion, between something you truly want to do and something you merely want others to see you doing. In silence, you can ask yourself, Will this idea still matter after the emotion has settled? Does it fit my present responsibilities? What knowledge, time, and resources does it require? Will it help me become more honest, compassionate, and useful? Questions like these do not extinguish the flame. They form the strong jar in which the flame can burn safely. Perhaps what you are sensing is not a great event, but the ripening of a decision you have avoided. You know that you need to change the way you live, leave an environment, begin some work, or care seriously for your health. Because the decision frightens you, you want to tell someone else so that they can carry the certainty for you. If they encourage you, you will move forward. If they doubt, you will retreat. But I do not want your future to be built entirely upon one person's reaction. Receive advice, but do not surrender the responsibility of choosing. No one can fully experience the consequences of a decision in your place. You need to gather information, consider risk, listen to experienced people, and finally accept that you must walk with your own feet. Sometimes, all you need to do during that quiet night is put down your phone, turn on the light, and sit with yourself for a few minutes. Write down what you feel instead of immediately sending it. Record what makes you happy, what frightens you, and what you believe the next step may be. When you write for yourself, you do not have to make the story attractive. You do not need to persuade the reader. You can honestly admit that you do not know, that one part of you hopes while another still doubts. That honesty helps you avoid confusing desire with certainty. The following morning, you can read it again with a more rested mind. Some lines will remain clear. Other things may make you smile when you recognize how emotional you had become. Both are valuable. I want you to learn how to rejoice before receiving applause. Let a small step be precious, even when no one knows about it. One day of discipline, one page written, one amount saved, one call completed, or one boundary maintained deserves recognition. You do not need to announce every movement in order for it to have meaning. When you practice rejoicing privately, your motivation becomes less dependent upon attention. You will continue even on days when no one asks about you. That is when the new thing begins to grow real roots. Yet, do not turn silence into a reason to isolate yourself when making important or dangerous decisions. There are matters you must share with trustworthy people, especially when they concern health, finances, safety, contracts, or major changes affecting your family. Discretion does not replace professional advice and does not make you immune to error. Michael is a protector, and protection is often expressed through appropriate transparency, preparation, and knowledgeable people. Remember that a good gatekeeper does not lock everyone outside. They recognize whom to invite in so that the house becomes safer. When the time comes to speak, I do not promise that the process will already be complete or that the result will certainly be what you imagined. But you will speak from a steadier place. You will no longer use sharing as a request for permission to exist. You will not tell others merely so that they become responsible for your hope. You will be able to say, "This is what I am considering. These are the steps I have taken. I am still willing to learn." That voice is different from excitement without a foundation. It does not need everyone to agree immediately. It knows how to listen, adjust, and continue. Perhaps you still long to hear the words, "I am so happy for you." That desire is not wrong. Treasure the people who know how to rejoice with you without competing, preserve your confidence, and refuse to turn every dream into a reason for warning. But do not require anyone to respond perfectly. Some people love you but are tired. Some need time to understand. Some react cautiously because they recognize a risk you have not yet seen. Not every lack of enthusiasm is opposition. Learn to distinguish sincere caution from discouragement. Healthy feedback helps you become clearer. Discouraging speech usually only makes you feel smaller without offering anything specific that can be improved. If someone has repeatedly caused the flame within you to tremble, adjust the level of access you give them. You do not need to hate them. Perhaps they do not know how to keep private things, or perhaps their own fear allows them to see only what could fail. Forgive them, but do not continue giving them a role they are not mature enough to carry. Forgiveness does not mean repeating the same pattern and hoping for a different result. You may love them within appropriate limits, speak about ordinary things, and reserve important plans for a safer circle. That boundary is not pride. It is responsibility. Then forgive yourself for the times when you needed too much external validation. You behaved that way because you once went unseen, doubted your own ability, and feared carrying responsibility alone if things did not work out. Do not condemn that former version of yourself. Be grateful that they still dared to hope, and gently teach them that from now onward, hope will walk with preparation. You do not need to extinguish excitement in order to become wise. You simply need to give joy a home, your plan a foundation, and your words an appropriate time. My beloved child, what you need to recognize is not that something you say possesses a secret power to close the doors of your future, but that you have repeatedly placed something fragile before eyes that were not gentle enough to preserve it. You remember the opportunity that seemed almost within reach. The interview went well, the conversation was filled with hope, and the agreement appeared to be only one final step away. In your joy, you told someone too early. Then the following morning, the phone remained silent, the tone of an email changed, and the door you believed was opening closed again. You connected these events and quietly began to believe that sharing had caused something good to be taken from you. Archangel Michael, my faithful messenger, protector and executor of my will, reminds you to guard what needs to be guarded, but it is I who am telling you that protection is not superstition. No one can automatically erase what belongs to your future through one look, one comment, or one negative emotion. Some opportunities change because of reasons you cannot see. Some decisions are made by other people, and some plans were less certain than you believed. What you need to learn is not to fear speaking, but to know when to share, with whom, and why you desire to share. I understand why your heart still senses a connection. Before telling someone, you felt full of hope. After telling them, you began waiting for their reaction. If they appeared doubtful, asked questions, or failed to respond with the joy you expected, the clarity within you immediately became diluted. You began viewing the opportunity through their eyes. You reread every email anxiously, searched for signs that everything was changing, and treated every delay as evidence that your fear was correct. Perhaps the opportunity truly did not continue, but what caused even greater pain was that you lost the calmness needed to see it, as a process containing several possible outcomes. You gave anxiety the authority to interpret events. Therefore, the lesson is not, never speak, because the wind will enter. The lesson is, do not allow another person's reaction to replace reality. Wait for the official result. Continue preparing. Remember that a good interview is not yet a commitment. A positive conversation is not yet a contract, and a door that appears nearly open still requires patience until the hinges actually move. You also remember a dream that once moved you deeply. You awoke while every image still seemed vivid, then quickly recorded a long voice message to describe it. In that moment, you felt that you were preserving what you had perceived by placing it into words. But during the following days, the vividness of the dream faded. You were no longer certain which details belonged to the original images and which were interpretations you added while speaking. The listener's reactions entered the memory, causing you to wonder whether the dream had truly been profound or whether you had simply been carried away by emotion. You called this the wind that caused the flame to fade. I want you to understand it more gently. Memories of dreams are naturally fragile, and repeated retelling can cause the mind to reshape them. This does not mean that the dream contained a certain promise, nor does it mean that the listener destroyed something sacred. Perhaps the dream was simply reflecting what you hoped for, feared, or were attempting to process during those days. If a dream touches you deeply, write it down before interpreting it. Record what you actually saw, heard, and felt without rushing to attach a great conclusion. Allow time to help you recognize whether it carries any healthy understanding. Does it help you identify a fear, an unspoken need, or a decision that deserves consideration? Or is it simply a collection of memories and emotions arranged by the mind during sleep? You do not need to dismiss the dream, but neither must you give it authority over your life. What is meaningful will guide you toward clarity, responsibility, and peace, rather than causing you to become obsessed with decoding every image. I do not want you to live as someone who constantly searches the darkness of night for prophecy. I want you to awaken, care for the present day, and use wisdom in the real choices before you. Many times, you sensed a gentle reminder. Keep this for a little longer, yet you pushed it aside, because not sharing made you feel as though you were denying yourself. You believed a feeling became real only when another person heard and confirmed it. Deep within, you wanted someone to say that they also saw what you saw, that you were not too sensitive, too dreamy, or deceiving yourself. That desire does not make you weak. It simply reveals that you passed through long seasons without being heard. But if you always need someone else's confirmation before trusting your own experience, you will never become truly steady. You will live between two extremes, excited when others agree and doubtful when they respond coldly. I am teaching you a more mature way. Do not deny what you feel, but do not immediately turn a feeling into absolute truth. Hold it, examine it, and allow practical action to test it. There is a difference between discretion and isolation. Discretion means knowing what is not yet mature enough to be brought before many people. Isolation means believing that no one can help you and that every form of feedback is dangerous. I have not called you to live in a locked room. I want you to have a small circle of mature, honest, and trustworthy people. They do not simply praise every idea to make you happy, nor do they extinguish it immediately because of fear. They can ask difficult questions while preserving your dignity. They know the difference between caution and pessimism. When you choose the right people, sharing does not extinguish the flame. It may help you build a safer lamp in which to preserve it. Yet, even with trustworthy people, you still need to know whether you are offering a feeling, an idea, or a carefully considered decision. Do not present a possibility as certainty and then collapse when reality changes. You also remember recurring dreams of a house that seemed locked but was entered by someone, of an open drawer from which something valuable was taken, or of arriving at a familiar place, only to discover that what you sought had disappeared. Those images may cause you to fear that someone is entering your life, stealing opportunities, or touching something that does not belong to them. But, my beloved child, do not quickly transform a dream into an accusation against a particular person. Dreams often use images to reflect emotions. The house may represent your boundaries. The open drawer may suggest private things you gave away too easily. The stolen object may reflect fear of losing control, trust, or a part of yourself you placed into another person's hands. The empty place may simply express disappointment when what you expected was no longer there. Use the dream as an invitation to self-examination, not as evidence that you should suspect the world around you. The door left open may carry a very ordinary yet profound meaning. You have not always protected your time, emotions, plans, and private life through clear boundaries. You allowed others to enter too deeply before they proved trustworthy. You shared something precious, simply because they answered questions that were too private, because you feared being considered distant, and explained personal decisions to people who carried no responsibility for the outcome. You gave too many people a seat within the room where important decisions were still being formed. Afterward, each person left a voice behind, and you no longer knew what you truly thought. Closing the door does not mean hatred or suspicion. It means you are beginning to choose carefully who receives access. Not everyone who cares for you has enough wisdom to advise you. Not everyone familiar to you needs to know every plan, and not everyone who reacts strongly sees the truth more clearly than you do. Learn to say, "This is still being considered, and I do not want to discuss it in detail yet." Learn to answer, "When the result becomes clearer, I will share." These statements are not cold. They help you protect a process from becoming a public discussion before you possess enough information. If others truly respect you, they will not pressure you to open every door. People who refuse to accept boundaries often make you feel guilty for preserving privacy. Do not immediately abandon your new discernment because of their discomfort. A safe house still has windows, light, and honored guests, but the owner decides who enters, which room they enter, and how long they remain. You also need to close the door of announcing too early in order to receive an emotional reward. When you speak about a project and others praise you and call it wonderful, your mind may feel as though you have already experienced part of the success. Your excitement is released during the conversation, and the following day, the actual work feels heavy. You no longer feel the same urgency to complete it, because you have already received some of the attention that completion would have brought. Let action come before announcement. Write the first pages, complete the course, prepare the documents, build the foundation. Do this not because you fear others will destroy it, but to prove to yourself that it is not merely a passing surge of enthusiasm. A plan does not live through declarations. It lives through time, effort, and faithfulness when no one is watching. If an opportunity closed after you told someone, do not return to blaming the listener or yourself for opening the door to the wind. Examine the causes that can be verified. You may ask the employer for feedback, review your preparation, examine the terms, or discover whether the other party's priorities changed. Perhaps you performed very well, but they chose someone more suitable. Perhaps the budget changed or the position was withdrawn. Not every loss carries a mysterious message. Maturity helps you tolerate, not knowing exactly why, and still continue. You may grieve, but you do not need to invent someone to blame. Learn what can be learned, then direct your energy toward the next opportunity. I also want you to forgive those who reacted insensitively when you shared. Perhaps they said something that removed your motivation, repeated your secret, or turned your hope into a subject of discussion. What they did may have been wrong, and you have the right to adjust the level of trust. Forgiveness does not mean continuing to open the drawer for them. It means refusing to live forever under the belief that they stole your future. They may have hurt you, but they do not possess authority to determine your entire path. Reclaim what truly belongs to you. The right to prepare, the right to choose your companions, the right to try again, and the right not to turn one painful experience into a law, governing every relationship. Then forgive yourself for speaking while your heart was still young. You did not do so because you were foolish. You wanted someone to share your joy, to see you, and to reassure you that your hope was not alone. Do not use today's lesson to condemn the person you were before. Tell yourself that from now onward, you will protect what is new with greater patience. When you feel excited, you will wait one night. When you want to send a message, you will write in a journal first. When you need feedback, you will choose someone with experience and sincerity. When someone asks too deeply, you will no longer feel obligated to answer. This is how you close the door without building a wall. My beloved child, do not fear that your flame is too weak. A true flame is not meant to remain hidden forever inside a jar. It needs to be cared for until it becomes steady enough to bring light into life. Protection is not the final goal. Maturity is. The time will come when you need to speak, collaborate, bring the plan into examination, and accept that others may offer feedback, reject it, or fail to understand. If you keep everything hidden merely to avoid being tested, what is within you cannot become useful. Therefore, dedicate a season to preparation, but do not use secrecy as a place in which to hide from action. Close the door to distraction, but open the door to discipline. Close the door to endless validation, but open the door to trustworthy advice. Close the door to fear, but open the door to reality. When night comes and you remember dreams of a house being entered, do not panic. Ask yourself whether there is a boundary that needs to be strengthened today. Are you allowing work to enter every hour meant for rest? Are you allowing one person to determine your mood for the entire day? Are you sharing too much online and then feeling empty? Are you allowing old memories to wander freely through your mind and steal your sleep? The door that needs to be closed may not be outside you. It may be the limit you need to establish with a habit, a device, a conversation, or the way you speak to yourself. And if recurring dreams disturb your sleep or create prolonged anxiety, seek appropriate support. You do not need to decode everything alone or carry it as a spiritual burden. Now look peacefully upon what has passed. Some opportunities were lost, but you still possess the ability to seek again. Some dreams faded, but you can still create new goals with awareness. Some things were shared too soon, but those lessons have made you wiser. None of these experiences proves that your future was stolen. They simply reveal that you are learning how to preserve what is precious without turning preservation into fear. Close the doors that need to be closed with the quiet courage Michael represents. Close the door to the urge for everyone's approval. Close the door to conversations that cause you to lose direction. Close the door to the habit of announcing what has not yet been prepared. But open your heart to sincere people, healthy correction, and the responsibility of transforming desire into action. You can love without handing over every key. You can hope without announcing certainty. You can keep something in silence without denying yourself. I am with you in plans that do not yet have names, opportunities that have not yet taken form, and dreams you do not yet understand. I do not require you to decode them tonight. Rest, be grateful that you have learned something more about boundaries, and tomorrow, return to the real work before you. Your future is not determined by the fact that you once told someone too early. It is built through wisdom, perseverance, the ability to learn, and the choices you make each day. Forgive, close what belongs to the past, and continue without carrying the fear that anyone can extinguish the light within you. When you care for the flame, with truth and discipline, it will become steady enough to stand before the wind, warm enough to heal you, and bright enough to guide others without needing to remain hidden forever inside the jar.